he went with the tax collectors. He went. It says, "Hey, Zacchaeus, I'm having."
That began before the beginning began. He that will never end, even if cannot have any faults whatsoever. Therefore, of the week, and in the house today we have a very, very interesting person, Francis Mwamba, charity organization called My Dream. He is also the founder and CEO of a multiple private business and investment. So just allow me to welcome Mr. Francis Mwamba. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. To listen to this program, as I've been introduced, my name is Francis Mwamba. I can say I'm a change agent, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm also a visionary of a charity organization called My Dream Project. My focus mainly in my entrepreneurship journey is to find ways and means of giving back and find purposeful meaning of impacting other people's lives. Yeah, so that's basically about me.
Yeah, so you wrote a book, and that's the thing that we are going to talk about today. Making your first 100,000. No, like this sounds like a very huge amount. But yeah, but looking at the fact that you made it when you were still in school, which was at Copperbelt. So like, can you just kindly tell us how you started that same journey of making 100,000?
Okay. So like the title of my book is called Making Your First 100,000, and in this book I basically just detail my personal journey, my personal experience, my failures, my wins, and a number of things and perceptions I needed to learn and change on for me to be able to be in a place where I would understand financially, not only from the worldly point of view, but also God's perspective about finances. So this is a book that you read, and it's not like, for me, I see, and which is one reason I was prompted.
Yeah, so like what really prompted you to actually start writing this book?
So like I started writing this book late last year, before I was done with my final exams. I thought to myself, after having realized that I had made over 100,000, so I was like, okay, let me try to see how best I can share the experience. So it's not in an effort to show to the world that I've made 100,000. I was broke, had nothing. I detailed partly of my upbringing, my parents, and my raising, and the humble beginnings. The story will make you rethink what you think you need to have for you to have finances. I started from zero. So not privileged, you still can learn a number of things from the book. Yes.
That's a very interesting story, because on this show you can only start a business when you have a 20,000 capital, 10,000, but now
So one interesting thing I would like to quote, which is not written in the book, but there's one, I was listening to one great speaker who said, the problem is not lack of resource individuals, but our ability to think resourcefully. You have a skill, you have an ability, you have a talent. How do you use capital to start a business? But in actual sense, I had skills. Like, for example, I'd worked at a computer business center and I'd gained that skill. So me going into university, I thought that skill would not be of use until I realized that kind of projects, and I've tried to learn new things from each before even jumping to the next, or maybe before scaling to enough to spark the journey to your first 100,000.
Yeah, so like just a simple question, like you
taken, because I was like, it was a by the way thing just to keep me with some funds. You make a 50 kwacha, picturing my life in the entrepreneur line as compared to the job sense. Yes.
Like I have a lot of friends who are doing that same course. So they always complain to say, no, that course is.
Same question like I've been asked by most students. So you find when you're in university, we are mostly to discover who you are. You get to learn more about yourself, and we only learn about ourselves by experimenting outside school. Other people use it to play FIFA. Other people use it of that, and use that extra time I was finding to focus on my lessons as I continue to equip myself in the journey of entrepreneurship. The people are supposed to place it, so it's easy. Even if you're doing an engineering program, you can easily scale off some time to say, okay, this I'll focus on. Even 30 minutes a day, 1 hour a day is a lot of time to focus on a skill, to focus on a venture, and by the time you graduate in 5 or 4 years time, you'd have gained a lot of experience and a lot of information, and you'd have had a lot of self-awareness for the paper and forgot that there's a lot you can do within school. Yes.
Yeah,
There's plenty of time.
Yeah, because most of the people, the moment that they get in school, they lose so much focus because they then just having a clear path, see it's fine for me, or you had a mentality where you were saying, no, me, I just want to get an A or an A plus.
Okay, so one other interesting thing is that when you're in school or when to find employment after I'm done with my degree, then along the journey I discovered to say actually entrepreneurship is more interesting than what I actually went in school for. Initial wanting to get a degree was a job, but the fact that I knew to say I would possibly focus on entrepreneurship after this, I started also giving it time, so I built up momentum. By the time I'm getting my degree, not to say you should be at a point where you start getting zeros and all, but you should be at an emphasis on. So it's a gamble between trying to win both ends, because you find even in my pursuit, I knew to say one of the two will suffer in the way. It's either my entrepreneurship journey will start graduating next month with a degree in mining engineering, while having managed to even make over 100,000 while still being in the same school setup.
Yeah, that's very much interesting. So there's a point where like school gets tough and all that. So when that point reaches, were you trying to sideline the entrepreneurship, or you used to be there also?
Okay, so there was one time, like I had mentioned, I had known to say I'm more interested in entrepreneurship, to say what gets my attention between school or is it entrepreneurship. And I remember at one instant I even dropped out of school.
Oh.
So for me it was that deep to go into entrepreneurship that I was willing to put school aside. But after some time I started to restructure back. I reached at a point where we're going into exams, so I didn't perform well, I failed, and I was made to repeat an entire year. So instead of spending 5 years on my engineering degree, I spent actually 6 years. So those are some of the prices someone has to be willing to pay. When you want something that bad enough, like, you know that you have to pay the price, which is one thing. We want it easily without having made proper investment. So school gets tough, yes, but I think my entrepreneurship journey always had a place to demand more attention.
So that same particular time where you wanted to, like, the time where you dropped out, what made you to actually drop out? Is
So
it
like,
because of the finances or something?
no, it's not even actually about finances, because at the time I was, in my entire stay in school, I was on bursary, 100% government sponsorship, so I was just paying a fraction, just a small amount of money. So finances were not mainly an issue when it comes to my stay in school. But like I won't get a job, what do I do next? So I needed to withdraw for a bit and just restructure my reason of continuing to be in school, until I realized to say there's more to a degree than just getting a job. And after I realized that, I had to get back and get to restructure and get to journey again with the school programs. Yes.
That's very good. So for someone who is watching this show and they are in a point where they want to balance the two, and they want to be getting A pluses, and they also want to be they also want their businesses to be doing, like, what can you tell them? Is it possible to actually have both the business and
the
school like thriving?
So like, I think, like I've mentioned, you need to just figure out how to structure yourself. There's plenty of time, like I've mentioned, but it will demand a lot from you.
Yeah.
So if you want to get A pluses at the same time succeed in your business, you need to be very smart and be at a place where you are very strategic. For example, purchasing this book or maybe getting to read this book will make you avoid certain things that I had to learn the hard way.
Oh, yeah.
And you possibly avoid certain mistakes I made. Because, for example, when I was in school, like I run a t-shirt printing business, which is a branding business. And so you'd find I would spend the weekdays collecting orders while still doing schoolwork. Then on the weekends, I would travel from Kitwe to Lusaka every weekend to go and process the work and then return back to school on Sunday evening.
Yeah.
But someone who learned from that story through reading with, and you can also improve on what you're already doing. So it's possible. I believe anything is possible. So my school, I started making a lot of balance, because initially when I was just starting out business, my grades went well low. But in the last final exams, I was managing to get above 7. But when you pick this book, you'll be able to learn lessons that will help you avoid certain mistakes that I made. Yeah.
So if you are to be given a chance to go back, would you like to change anything?
No, like got me to be the person that I am today, and I feel without one single failure, I wouldn't be as driven and as self-aware as I am right now. So I feel like every encounter, I anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like if someone was to get this copy today, what exactly can they benefit from?
So scale from 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000,
Yeah.
but this book will teach you more than that. It will actually open your mind to money in the wrong perspective. I was told money is the root of all evil. You don't need money to be happy. You don't need ability to see beyond them. So I think this book will redefine a lot about what you know about money, and it will also give you God's perspective to do with money and how you can easily attain it. Yeah. So it's just simple, basic rules that where I believe if everyone was to pick up would make way more than 100,000.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So like what was that particular thing that you know that?
So one other thing that I consider my passion and my purpose is the charity venture, Homes for the Aged. We've made donations there. So currently my dream project is sponsoring over 50 kids as of last year through school.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
in starting, so we'll pay for their fees. But what if those guys I'm depending to sponsor these kids are not available? Are we going to? It has existed because of the help of external people, like external donations, external people. So my focus really changed in pursuit of money. Initially, I wanted to just money than just showing off. Yeah, so that is my motivation to even drive my venture.
Like what can you tell someone who is watching us right now? Like what?
Yeah, so one important key thing that everyone needs to come to it is only coming to realize your purpose can you be of use to society, wanting you to fulfill his mission. And the fact that if you're doing anything outside God's purpose for your life, you're basically wasting your time. God really wants them to do with their lives. So, but we've been only taking the chance to say this child is unique here about. So self-discovery, finding yourself is the.
You need to have it at your back of your head to say no. It's just about money now. It's about money.
So one interesting thing, all the money that I'm bringing in, I account for monies that I'm giving out. So I realized to say I've actually amassed over 100,000. So I was like, wow. I was just focusing on doing the work, focusing on pushing the actual work. I get it. So it shouldn't be about I want to make that money. Yeah, having a goal and a target is you're working, be it an opportunity to be at this station. What value stay focused in the long run? Yeah.
Okay, so the last question: what would you like to be remembered?
And try to think of a place where I'm going, like where you put your would be sounding contradictory to what most would mostly just want to go knowing to say I've fulfilled God's calling for my life. It's not my decision for people to remember or not to remember. I think that's I don't even know what they are remembering, but I'm more focused on giving what I feel I can.
That we say bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in today. See you next week.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.